A minute to
Are
connect.
we ready to go? Okay.
Yes, the recording just started. So let me go ahead and introduce you. Hello, everyone. I am Jennifer Crispin, one of the librarians at the Alief Hayes location. And today we are very happy to have Professor Sandra Pierce here to talk about 10 things you need to know about work. She is the Director of Employment Services for Houston Community College's VAST Academy, where she and cognitive disabilities. It provides training managers, supervisors, and frontline staff on time management environments. Thank you for joining us, Sandra.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. I'm very excited to present this workshop to you today. I want it to be a workshop that is engaging, so please participate. I'm going to ask you to participate through the chat window. I want to make sure that I am meeting your expectations as a presenter, so I will also ask that you give me feedback throughout the workshop. The purpose of the workshop is to get you engaged, kind of talk about the things that you need to know about work. And so I'd like to kind of hear from you. If you could enter into the chat, give me some feedbacks or some things that you want to know about work so that I make sure that I include them in our time that we have today. So you can enter your comments. I will make sure that if there's an element that's not in our workshop, that I do present that information to you. Okay, so I will move on along. 10 things that you need to know about work. What do you want to learn today? So those are some things that I ask you to start putting in the chat. I will be reading the chat through the presentation, and I will make sure that I highlight those elements that are important to you. Today, we're going to talk about 10 elements that I designed specifically for you today to kind of give you some insight and guidance into what I hear from employers on a day-to-day basis. As the Director of Employment Services for VAST, I am responsible for interacting with employers on a day-to-day basis. And I get feedback on what they're looking for. I get feedback on how our students or HCC alumni are doing. So that is what I'm going to be talking to you about today. So we'll talk about preparing for the opportunity, right? The opportunity to enter the workforce. We'll be talking about the job market, understanding your role in the job market, what employers are expecting as far as accountability, flexibility, employing the rules of the playground, putting your work first, the employer's expectations that you never stop learning, networking. So we tend to think of networking in terms of networking to get a job. We're going to talk about that in the capacity of once you are employed, what do employers expect for you to do? And then preparing for your next move. So all of those are really important features that we'll be talking about in this presentation. So getting started, preparing for the opportunity. So as students, as you get ready to graduate and move on and become HCC alumni, employers are expecting you guys to have the skill sets for the jobs that they're looking for. And we're going to talk about how some of those skill sets have changed now that we're in a COVID environment, and to talk about what you can do to prepare yourselves as we operate in a COVID environment until we're no longer in that mindset. So employers are also asking that you have the soft skills to get along with your supervisors and peers. We tend to do a lot of training in academia and in workforce preparation courses to prepare you to have the ability to do the hard skills that are associated with employment. But one of the things that employers are constantly looking for is making sure that not only that you have the hard skills to get the job that you're applying for, but to make sure that you have the soft skills to maintain employment. So the ability to get along with your coworkers, the ability to time manage, those types of things. And we'll get into that a little bit into the workshop. and then how to prepare for the workforce. And you're doing that now, so congratulations. You're working on getting a degree or certificate, mastering your skill in a specific area, and that will help you to net your first job or your next job. This is really, really crucial, especially now that we're operating in a COVID environment. Employers are expecting you to understand the job market, to understand where the employers are now in terms of how they're operating, how they're recruiting, right? That's really crucial, especially as you start to look for employment now. To be able to identify the industries that are growing and also the industries that are changing, because some of the jobs that you would have applied for post-COVID now look a little bit different now that we're in a COVID environment. And this is something that I know that you're hearing about a lot, probably in some of your classes, and then as you engage in different news media outlets, the ability to pivot, okay? Employers are pivoting in terms of how they're doing business, and that requires also that job applicants or employees are pivoting in the way that they interact. So what impact, and I want you to give me some feedback through the chat, what impact do you feel that COVID had on the restaurant industry? And what did that mean for the mom and pop restaurant owners? Okay, so as you're entering your feedback, I'm going to give you that, start talking about that, and then I will integrate your comments in to the workshop. So we're in Texas, and Texas is known for our hospitality and the large amount of restaurants, eateries that we have in our area. And so when COVID impacted us, some of the restaurants closed, some of the restaurants did things in a different kind of way, but especially for our mom and pop, those private small restaurants, they had to really figure out how to do things different and quickly. One of the comments says that some businesses were not able to recover from this, and that is absolutely the truth. A lot of businesses had to figure out, how to deal with technology. They had to figure out, okay, how do we continue to operate in such a way that we are able to compete in this environment, right? So first of all, they closed up the majority of them, and then they had to kind of figure out, if I open up, what is that going to look like? Do I have the technology to survive? Do I have the PPE? So that not only affected their ability to operate and sustain themselves, like a lot of you have said. I know Irene said that it had a very negative impact, which led to employers cutting hours and some businesses closing down. One of the things also that it had a huge change was that one employee that may have operated as a dishwasher, for example, had to now learn and have the skill sets to be able to operate a cash register. If they wanted to maintain employed, they had to learn to cook. So the roles at the different jobs changed, right? So as our environment continues to change, we have to be ready to change with it. So especially operating in this environment, we have to kind of have and develop those skill sets to be able to project what's going to happen down the road. So, we used to be able to get a job with one skill set. Now you have to have quite a few, and the ability to be flexible. So in order to stay abreast of any industry, you have to stay abreast of what's occurring in the economy, what's occurring in the environment. We have a lot of discussions now that are going on with employers trying to decide if the employees are going to be required to take some of the COVID testing. So staying abreast of all of that, even if you have a job, you want to make sure that you stay alert what's going on in the community and the environment so that you're able to maintain employment. So we right now are in an environment that is constantly changing. This is one of my favorite things that I like to talk about is the resources to stay abreast of the company trends. And this is something that I talk to people about, whether you are employed and you're looking to transition into something else within your organization, or whether you are wanting to find another job. Constantly staying into contact with the resources and things that are going on in the environment. We have our HCC job placement office that is available here at HCC to provide you with guidance and direction. You can also visit your local workforce center to find out about the industry trends. They have a really good flyer that is called, excuse me, Where the Jobs Are, that you can download to kind of figure out the areas that employers are hiring in now so that you stay abreast of that. One good resource also is Glassdoor. Not only do they tell you some of the employers that are hiring, but you get to really peek into the doors of some of the employers to kind of hear what the employees feel about that organization. Now, some of that you kind of have to take with a grain of salt, because you may read some things, from disgruntled employees, but your idea is to go in, peek in the window and get a really good snapshot of what those employers are doing or wanting or how they operate. A good thing would be, for example, what does it take to promote within that organization? Those are things that you can get on Glassdoor that you might not see on Workforce Solutions website or Indeed or some of the other career employment types of websites that you are looking at. And also take a look at the employer postings and look at how they're changing over time, the different skill sets that they're requiring. And not that employers are just trying to be picky, they have had to change what they're doing in terms of making sure that they have the amount of staff to stay open. So you may have seen some receptionist positions, and now as you notice, you look on the different sites, some of those positions are fading away, but they're being migrated into other types of jobs. So just kind of staying abreast and not only reading the headers, but reading the content to see how those are changing, how the skill sets are changing, how the soft skills are changing, so that you're able to get a job and then also maintain the job as well. So I really want to get your feedback on also, what do you think that hiring managers are looking for in today's market? So they posted a job either with our HCC job placement through our Career Hub, and you're going to submit your application to them, or maybe you're applying on Indeed, some other type of search engine, or Glassdoor. After they have made their posting and they start to review resumes, kind of tell me, what do you think they are looking for in terms of which candidate will I bring on to my organization? And feel free, if you would like to utilize your microphone to speak, you can do that as well. Or you can feel free to use the chat feature. So while you are entering your chats or kind of looking at how you want to engage with that question, employers are looking at a lot of different things. They're looking at your resume to look at your ability to transition into other job tasks, to transition into other areas within their organization. They're looking at, does your resume reflect the skill sets that are needed for customer service in today's market? So before, when we applied for customer service types of jobs, we looked at those jobs as far as having direct interaction from one person to another. Well, now it's a little bit different, right? Now employers are doing a lot of engagement through online. So where they would have prior to COVID a year ago, they were looking for your ability to interact with people face to face, how you engage. Now they're not only looking for that, but they're looking at what are your computer skills looking at? Is this someone that I can also put into my help desk function where they can help people to navigate different IT type of issues that are going on? So they're looking at a lot of different things. So look at that in terms of how you view your resume, the types of things that you have on your resume, the wording of your resume. You want to make sure that you're giving the hiring managers a really good picture of what you can bring to their organization. So one of the things that I like to say whenever I give a resume workshop to that extent is to make sure that you are tailoring your resume to fit the job that you're applying for. We always want to be truthful, but you want to make sure that when the hiring manager looks at your resume, that they know right off if you're going to be a good fit for that organization. So look at your resume in terms of does it use the wording that they use in the job posting, and do you have the skill set for that job? So look at that in terms of that as well. One thing that employers are also looking at is to understand your role in the marketplace. And this is really good for new employees, new job seekers that are trying to find a job, or job seekers that have kind of gone back to college because they want to do some things different, kind of transition into a different kind of career. If you're on some of the social media outlets, you might have seen a lot of posts, a lot of comments, and there's a lot of polls actually now on LinkedIn where they're asking people questions that, okay, after COVID is over, are you going to want to go back to the workplace? And are you going to want to go back full time? Or are you going to want to go back a couple of days? All of that is ways that you can get information. So employers are putting ticklers out there to kind of figure out what is their workplace going to look like? What are employees looking for? So understanding the role of the market, understanding how things have transitioned, understanding how your skills and abilities can transition into the workplace, and how your skills and abilities, once you're employed, can help move you to the next job within that career path. Knowing how to value your contribution to their workplace. Taking the time to find out, how other departments are operating, and how you could possibly fit in to a move to a different department within the organization. So that is very important as well. Accountability is one of the things that I hear a lot of, and I hear a lot of employers are talking about ways to not only engage new employees on strengthening accountability, but for employees that are already on site. So they want to make sure that you take responsibility for the company's bottom line. Not necessarily your job task, right? But every company is in business to make money, whether you work for a for-profit entity or whether you work for a organization that is a nonprofit organization. The bottom line is that sustainability is important. So they want employees that understand why they're there, why the business is open, why the business exists, and then for you to take an active role in making sure that they meet their bottom line. One of the things that I hear all the time is if you see a problem, fix it, right? So if you bring to me a problem, then also bring to me a solution on how you think that we should be able to fix that. So that is really important. So not that employers don't want you to complain, but they want to know that when you see something that needs to be tweaked, that you also have the foresight, the skill set, the ability to maybe come with a solution to that problem. So those are some ways that you can make yourself indispensable within an organization, is to be able to do that. Which brings me to flexibility. To understand that you are expected to do tasks that are not a part of your job description. Unfortunately, we do not live in a work environment any longer that requires that we do one skill set within an organization, right? So if we're going to remain employed in today's economy, we have to know going forward that we're going to be doing jobs that are not necessarily a part of a particular job task. I may have been hired, for example, to be a file clerk within an organization, but I know that if the receptionist is out, I may be asked to be that receptionist or to do backup kinds of things that are not a part of what you do. A good case example is me being before you today, right? I work as the Director of Employment Services with HCC in providing employment opportunities for students with disabilities. However, as we pivot as an organization, then I'm here with you today. And so it's, being flexible enough to do those things that are needed within an organization. And those are going to be some of the things that you will be required to do. So I got a little excited. Number 6, which is one of my favorite things, and so I got a really good graphic for you to look at in doing that, is employing the rules of the playground, right? So everything we learned prior to now is the same things that we have to admit whenever we go into the workforce, which is to be nice to our coworkers, to be respectful, to be considerate. In today's workforce, we are working with people across generations, right? We have young people, we have seasoned people, we have people from all backgrounds. And with your age and with your background, sometimes one thing that comes with that is the way that we work, the way that we do things, the way that we process things are a little bit different. So operating with that type of mindset, right? To give everyone the benefit of the doubt, to be open to listen, and to make sure that we understand that we are all committing to one common goal within the organization. And then when you make a mistake, admit it, right? Because we're all going to experience that at one point in time. So we're not going to ever enter the workforce, no matter who you are or how high or how low your position are. We will make some mistakes. Things do happen. And when they happen, it's okay. Just to give the next person a little bit of grace as you move within your day. It's a part of just what we do. We all do that. So this is, I wish I could just put this on a t-shirt, because this is like my t-shirt moment. Every organization, no matter what the industry is that I've worked with, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's hospitality, whether it's in the medical field, this is something that has come up within every line of industry that I've worked with, that all of the HR managers or hiring managers or frontline supervisors have expressed to me. Putting your working your social life around your job, right? So in lieu of working your job around your social life, this is so important, and this will really impact a person's ability to be able to remain employable. You have to operate in such a way that your employer knows that the job that they're paying you for comes first, right? So if you're going to plan a girls' trip, you plan your girls' trip around your set vacation, or you schedule it ahead of time, giving your employer the proper notification. And you also take into an account in that particular example that if you work in an environment and you are auditing files or data or information, or whether the company has one part of the year that's a little bit busier than the next, that you, if at all possible, that you don't plan trips and things around those times where you know that the employer is operating with all hands on deck. So a lot of businesses, no matter what, and I've had some organizations that have said, can you come in and do a workshop, on this specific area in terms of social skills, because they're constantly replacing staff, because they don't put their work around their social life. They're doing it, the reverse, which is what, I talked about earlier when you're working around people across different generations. So you may have older workers that operate, well, and you do, that they operate on the mindset that the work comes first, and they automatically know that this is when you're able to take time off, and this is how you navigate this around this time of the year. Then you have older workers, right? And things have changed. They look at things a little bit different. So putting all that stuff together and then just kind of understanding what the employer expects in the line of work. So let's talk about that. What does working your job around your social life mean? So if you could either give me something in the chat. Let me see if I can stop my share for a minute so that I see your lovely face, and maybe you can give me some feedback about what you think. Okay, so I'm just going to take a moment to read some of the questions. I have one on security. Okay, so Jennifer said one of the examples that people who work at HCC do not try to take vacations during the first 2 weeks of the semester because there's a lot of work to do. Then that's crucial. So when you know that a company has crunch time, you make sure that whatever you want to do, that cruise that you need to take, because we all have to take vacations, right? That's it's a part of us being mentally stable, secure, and likable. We want to take our vacations, but we want to make sure that we take them at a time that is good for not only you, but for the employer as well. So I'm going to go back to my slide share, and I will read your comments as they come through. So thank you so much for the comments and the feedback that you're giving me. Number 8 is never stop learning, and this is so very important. This is one thing that no matter your age, no matter where you are in terms of the enrollment process, or you're getting ready to graduate, or you've been in a job for a long time, or what, you can take a picture of this and just live and die by it. So it's very important that you never stop learning, right? Because the way that we operate and the way that we grow in an environment and the way that companies change, especially now, how everything, the rate of speed at which things are occurring are changing so rapidly. So these are just some tips that would kind of help. So join an association, right? Whether it's an association that's directly connected with your job, or an outside association. And you can always Google, that to try to find associations to join, national and local, right? To kind of help you keep abreast of what's going on in your industry, what's coming down the pike that you may get wind of before, someone in your organization gets wind of that. To read the trade journals on what's happening within your industry. There's magazines, there's a lot that you can find directly on apps, the electronic versions of different things that are going on, but to stay abreast of what's going on. Enroll in a course, whether you have to pay for it or whether the employer pays for it. A long time ago, and some jobs still operate that way, but the majority of that has changed, right? So we don't go into any type of work environment now feeling that it's the employer's responsibility to make sure that you develop the skill set that you need to do a specific job. Yes, that is important. However, we own our own growth, within a company. So it's up to you, as a student, as an employee that's working for a company, to really take an honest assessment of where we're strong, where we're weak, and then you go get that training. And now, with technology booming at such a fast rate of speed and your ability to take online courses, long-term and fast track, you could take a course and upgrade your skill quickly. So I do encourage you to do that. Identify a mentor, someone that maybe have been at the organization for a long time that can give you feedback on how things operate. And one of my suggestions, especially for some of the new employees that are going to work, is before you don't want to just jump in and go, oh my God, I need a mentor, and you snatch the first person that you come to. In most cases, you want to get into a job and kind of watch things a little bit so that you make sure that you're identifying the right mentor. You don't want your mentor to be the company gossip. You don't want your mentor to be someone that is negative. You want your mentor to be someone that will not only show ownership in your growth as a new employee entering an organization, but someone that is also modeling the type of behavior that you want to acquire or want to emulate, right? So the other is to pay attention to all of the changes that are going on at your workplace. So if you do all those things, then you have the ability to either maintain employment or go home and sit on the couch. So it's kind of the way that I like to explain it to the young adults in my classroom. We have to always own our own job growth. So that is really crucial, because sometimes things happen within an organization, especially now, they're happening fast at a rate of speed. You may have the best supervisor with the best intention to provide you with all of the training and information that you need. However, they're working in hybrid situations now, or people are working from home and they can't touch you as much as they would like to. So you have to reach out to them. You have to text them. You have to email them. You have to engage and say, hey, I'm not understanding this. I need some help in this particular area. Or take an online course that's available to you, whether you have to pay for it or not. We have to own our own growth. Number 9 is networking is essential, right? So when we have young adults, or older adults, it really doesn't matter in terms of your age, but we tend to talk to people when they're looking for work in terms of networking and developing your network map and making a list of all the people you know and where they work, and how that can help you enter the workplace. But that's only part of it. It's really crucial that once you go to work, you want to network in a positive manner within an organization or within other industry groups, to maintain your growth. So one of the ways that you do that is by joining a trade group, establishing a LinkedIn profile, connecting with people that are in your industry, or doing jobs that you might be interested in doing. Getting to know your colleagues, kind of figuring out, how different departments operate. You may find a job within an organization and you're working in one department, but how does your department interact with these other departments? And is that an area that you might be interested in? Or, maybe you can team up with another colleague from another department on an outside activity, but networking is crucial. So get to know your colleagues that are in other departments. We want to also make sure that we are intentional on building relationships. And if I'm completely honest, this is something that I'm constantly working on regardless. So no matter what role you are in an organization, you're constantly growing, you're constantly evaluating where you are in terms of a professional, and you never stop looking at all of the elements that we've talked about so far. So for me, myself personally, I have to tell myself intentionally focus on building relationships, because it's really easy to work at an organization and to become an island of your own, which is one of the reasons that I volunteered to be with you here today. Because actually, this is one of the parts of, there are many parts, but this is one of the parts of my job that I love. But I tend to only do it with specific groups, right? So you have to intentionally build relationships, trust with other areas within your organization, so that you grow as an individual. So here I am presenting to you and talking to you about, 10 things that employers want, but also these are things that I also have to revisit, right? And I'm pretty sure if you would have a conversation with other people that that have been in the workplace for a long time, or other professors, colleagues, they would tell you the same thing. All of these elements are things that we're constantly working on, constantly focus on, looking for ways for opportunity to grow and to develop and to prepare for your next move, which is the number 10, preparing for your next move. Employers are looking for employees that have the capability to help that company move in the next direction. They want to make sure that they have employees that have the skill sets, the desire, the energy to help them not only to meet their business goals, but to exceed, right? So if you were to have a conversation with some of these employers that had to close during COVID, I'm pretty sure that that is something that would be at the head of the table, that maybe they didn't surround themselves, or maybe they didn't. Well, number one, it kind of took everybody by surprise. But the second thing is that maybe the people that they had on staff did not have all of the skill sets to help that company to pivot and to move to where they needed to be. So we talked about this particular example before, and I like to use the hospitality examples a lot because people can relate to them no matter what industry that you work in, because we all have stayed in hotels more than likely, and we've all had eaten at a restaurant. So those are things that are very relatable. So if we were talking about a job description for a busser, it would look way different prior to COVID than it is now, because now they're looking for, the skill sets are different. Previously, I could refer somebody to a busser position if they had limited communication abilities and they could only follow 1 or 2 step directions, for example. Well, now you can get a busser with, those specific job requirements. But in most situations now, when you're reading that posting, they're wanting something a little bit different. So not only do they want you to have the capability, the physical capability to be able to clean a table, they want you to be able to interact and communicate with the guests, right? So now your a communication skill that wasn't in that previous job description is now a part of that job description. So these are conversations that we are having all of the time with our students, with people that we know that operated in one capacity and now they're trying to find a job. Those people that work 9-to-5 jobs prior to COVID, and now they're trying to pivot because they're deciding that they maybe not, maybe they don't want to go back and work in the same type of industry that they were laid off from, or that they're still, working with, but things are a little bit different. So we are all pivoting in one capacity of another. So In your classes, I'm pretty sure that you've kind of heard some of this, and this is one of the things that I've chosen to end our workshop series, something that you can relate, put all that to the 10 things that employers are looking for, is to look at things and look at this in terms of developing your own personal SWOT analysis, right? What are the things that you need to know about work? So really looking at where you're strong, right? Where are your strengths, and what companies are looking for people with that specific skill set, right? And when you get to looking at your weaknesses, take an honest um, opportunity to look at where we are weak. You don't have to report it to anybody. You don't have to, put it on Facebook, but really looking at where your weaknesses are and taking advantage of where we are now within our environment to work on that, right? So right before I got on to this call, to this workshop, I got a call, for example, from a parent whose young adult was working in childcare, and now they're wanting to work in office services, right? So because I knew this student, my conversation with the parent was a real conversation with where the young adult is strong and where they're weak and what they need to be working on within COVID to prepare them for the next thing, for the opportunity. So we have an opportunity now that some of us are working remote, now that we can take online classes from places that we couldn't get to, last year, that are now offering online classes and different things. So look at your strengths, look at your weaknesses, figure out a plan to address your weaknesses, right? So that when the opportunity comes, that you're ready for that. So identify what you need to, improve your skill so that you can get a job at XYZ, or so that now I'm in this department, but I really kind of like what they're doing over here, but I don't have the skill set and the training. What can you do here in your weakness area where you've identified, or the opportunity for improvement, however you want to look at that? What can I do now to help me to prepare for this? Whether it's getting a mentor to kind of help you opening that door, or looking at the additional training. And then the last one are the threat, to project either the company's sustainability in the workplace or your sustainability in the workplace. What's going to happen if I don't work on 1 through 10, the elements that we talked about? What will your growth look like if you don't focus on those elements, right? So in terms of you and then the company, are you going to work for a company that is in jeopardy of their ability to sustain based on growth? Now, some of the nonprofits, not nonprofits, but some of the mom and pop organizations, they were, right when we went into COVID, they were operating in almost a threat mode, right? So they're like backing into this the other way, quickly figuring out, what do I have to do? A good analogy about that, not that I'm promoting drinking or anything like that, but I'm going to use this example of the bars and different things that, the bars and the nightclubs that were operating at the beginning of COVID. A year ago, they were able to operate, no issues. COVID happened, they had to close down. They were operating in threat mode. Immediately, they had to figure out, when the opportunity came, what can we do to reopen our doors, right? So some organizations reopened responsibly, some didn't. But those bars, those organizations that operated in terms of developing a SWOT analysis, learned pretty quick. They had to go back, look at the regulations that they operated off of, and they had to figure out, what do we need to do over here to be able to open our doors again? So what did they do? Some of them switched their license that they operated under, or they read it and figured out that the only thing that they needed to do was to start to sell food, and then they could operate as a restaurant. And then they were able to get those businesses back open as long as they served at least 20 to 30% food. So these are all things that you guys, all of us, regardless if you are employed or not, we all have to focus on these 10 things. This is crucial to success, whether you have a job or whether you're looking for a job. Because even if you have a job and you don't think that your job may be in jeopardy, you have to understand where we're operating as a whole, and what could the possible threat be to your job maintaining, and then figure out, how are you going to sustain as an individual, right? So we're looking at that. I want to make sure that I have addressed your comments. So I'm going to reopen my chat because I want to make sure that I've met your expectations in doing that. So we had a really good comment from Rosanna, who said that in order to meet the state mandate, they made their food sales more and more than their alcohol sales, which is true. They had to do that. So Rosanna, you are absolutely correct. They had to pivot, and that's something that they had to do in order to sustain. Start selling food, that's correct. Irma said that I work for a co-founder in a small oil and gas company. She never takes time off when her boss is on vacation. And when my boss is on vacation, I manage the email and meetings. Right, so she's already figured out this is how my organization operates. And when my boss is gone, I got to be here because this is what I have to do in order to ensure that the company is sustainable, right? Because that's what the employers expect you to do. Jared said that it means that you have to network with people who have similar professions. That is right on the money. You network with people that have similar professions, Jared, and then sometimes if you think that there's something that you want to do different, you make sure that you start to navigate and network with those people as well. Okay, so we've got a lot of good feedback here. I'm going to stop my share because I want to see if I can answer any questions that you guys may have, where you can verbalize, ask me whatever you want to ask me, and we can have a conversation. So you can feel free to turn your mic on. I know that we are winding down. We are right at the end of the presentation, but I do want you to know that you can reach me at any point in time if you have any questions. Sandra Pierce, I'm in the drop down. It may also be listed as Sandra Semien Pierce, so I will make sure that I type that into the chat box so that you're able to find me. But if you want to ask any questions, please feel free to turn your mic on, and I will love to answer any questions that you might have. Okay, so I view the career. Okay, so I'm going to show you this career services short video. Thank you, Tambala. Well, I don't know if I could share it to you, but because I wasn't able to do that. But one of our career services individuals that's on our workshop today put a very good link to career services in the chat. I encourage you to copy that link and take a look at the video. Our HCC Career Hub, they offer workshops for HCC students, HCC alumni, a lot of good resources on how to develop a resume, how to prepare for a job. There's also a menu of services on upcoming workshops that are available that you can take advantage of. And Thank you so much. I'm reading your comments. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you've enjoyed the presentation. Please feel free to email me, call me if there's anything that I can do. I will be more than happy to assist you. So Norma says that I am about to graduate from the paralegal program. She was in real estate before. And so where do I begin looking for work in legal real estate field? Okay, so I am going to respond. Actually, there's a job on Career Hub that you would be interested in. So make sure that you log into Career Hub, check with Workforce Solutions, Norma, and feel free to email me. I'd love to help you make some connections on that as well. I just love the comments. You guys are great. Okay, so Jennifer, are we turning this back over to you to close us out?
Yes, we are. Thank you so much for this informative presentation. For everyone who joined maybe a little bit late or who just wants to watch again, the event will be available soon for playback via our Student Life YouTube channel. And that comes up pretty quickly. It might even be up this evening. All attendees who stayed for the entire event will be placed in a raffle, and 3 $25 gift cards will be awarded to the winners. Please be on the lookout for an email that says you are a winner in your student email. If you're attending this event for Eagle Points will be awarded within 2 business days of this event. Join us again next Tuesday, March 30th, for Making a Profound Impression in Today's Virtual Environment with Dr. Desmond Lewis. I hope you signed up for all of the events when you signed up for this one, but just in case you didn't, I'm putting the link in the chat. That is our presence link. And thank you so much for spending time with us today. I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.